welcome to the brand new edition of Story Talkies. Today, we are talking about digital marketing, performance marketing, and in that way, this session is going to be very interesting because this is something that every marketer is practicing today, and also something that everyone is grappling about. What exactly should we be doing? What's the right way? What is going to give us the best results? And these are the questions that between me and my guest Saumar, we have been talking about it for quite a few years now. No secrets here. We've been colleagues and friends, and today it's interesting that we are having these conversations on Story Talkies. And great pleasure to have you here, Sommer. The kind of work that you have done and the passion that you bring in your craft is something which is, I think, all of us will be able to witness when we speak to you. So, welcome to Story Talkies.
Yeah, thanks, Nidhi, for having me here, and I'm super proud of what you guys are doing out with Story Talkies.
So let's begin from the very fundamental question that we are asked most of the time as marketers. Are we marketing to the digital native people, or are we doing digital marketing? So is it marketing in a digital world, or is it digital marketing? Are these two just wordplay, or is there really a distance between the two thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the way you have put the question, Nidhi, of course, there are two different things, right? With maybe very strong overlaps. Digital marketing is one domain within marketing, right? But the fundamentals remain the same. Marketing in the digital world, as you put it, right, or marketing to the digital native is what we do by default these days, right? You cannot take digital away from marketing or our lives anymore. So whatever you do, right, has to have a digital connect, right? So just to give you one example, right? So if you do some dry, boring LinkedIn campaigns or a search campaign, we would probably call it digital marketing, right? But then if you put in an ad on very zingy, funny ad on Wall Street Journal, right? And you expect people to take snapshot of it and post it on their LinkedIn profiles and Twitter and create some controversy around it, right? That is marketing in the digital world, right? You are still marketing. You have not done a dry, plain digital marketing campaign, but you're reaping the benefits of it from digital. And that's what a lot of you must have seen this, right? Most of this, what we call as outrage marketing or controversy marketing, is all tied towards you probably not spend up money in digital platforms, right? You've spending money elsewhere, right? But you're getting the conversations and the benefits from a digital platform,
So
right?
what essentially you are talking about is that marketing is broad based. You have digital is one part of marketing, but we are connecting the dots. We are connecting dots from the offline marketing, so to say, and digital, and making it a seamless experience, as we call talk about the customer experience, and driving them to an action. Is and that therefore the marketers need to look at all the channels in a sequence or in a thread rather than looking at, okay, I'm doing digital marketing, someone is doing brand marketing, someone else is doing influencer marketing. So is there has to be a thread to going through that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So again, it depends on marketing. End of the day, is solving a problem, right? It depends on the problem that you're trying to solve. Not every problem needs an integrated cross channel exercise like the way you described, right? Some can be very simple ones, right? People are searching for software product, and you just run a search campaign, make sure that whoever is searching for the right keywords comes onto the landing page and converts, right? It can be as simple, right? What I meant, when I understood the term marketing in the digital world, I was mostly thinking in terms of, right, use whatever you do even elsewhere today, right, will have some kind of a digital footprint, right, or digital overlap, right? And the smartest marketers are going to leverage it, right? Using controversies, using cross pollination, right? Of course, the other thing that you probably hinted on is in terms of attribution, right? So there's a term that one of the podcasts, and one of my favorite podcast guys, has introduced called dark social. This guy is called Chris Walker. So he introduced this word called dark social, and it's more or less getting a lot of traction these days. People who believe it, people who challenge it. So what it basically means is that uh, so whatever people go through very random journeys, right? And it's very difficult to track who is doing what, right? So sometimes it need not be necessary that you're tracking it, but then you should be doing everything in all channels. So you really do not know how people will respond where. So even if you're not being able to measure it, keep doing things, right? So again, just to give you an example, right? If you're doing an offline campaign on for a car, let's say, right? You want someone to test drive a car, and you've done a huge front page ad on Times of India, right? That's an offline thing. That's got nothing to do with digital, right? But you can presume that the moment you do that, not everyone is going to come down to the store and say, I want to do a test drive. They'll probably check you out, right? They will probably go to 5 different car review sites, right? They will compare the details. They will probably go to the website. They will probably try to see what kind of colors you have. A lot of these things will happen. The guy in the store will not even know any of it because you may or may not be able to track it. That's the social, right? Or the dark digital, whatever you call it, right? But these things are happening. So if as a marketing organization, if you do not keep those things in place, you probably will not get the convert in the store. So if it's a physical world, there's a banner going on in the physical side, right? Offline side, and then there's a store in the offline side. But there's a lot happening the digital side in between, which you may or may not be able to measure, right? And as a marketer, you need to make sure that you're fixing everything so that if you go through these checkpoints, there's no roadblock, right?
You touched upon an interesting aspect of attribution and measurement. Now, that's one area where I think every year when you go back for budgets is something that a very difficult question that I've always asked, and everything needs to be measured and delivered. That okay, my cost per lead is this, my spend is on content is this, my spend on advertising is this. What am I getting? Right? And I understand that it's not possible for the marketer to attribute every dollar that's being spent, but the best possible way that they can spread the dollar out and expect the optimal results is what every marketer would focus at. How have you seen the measurement aspects of marketing from a direct attribution or not attribution, sorry, a direct cost assigned that okay, this is my cost per lead in a very straightforward manner to today when we are using multiple media, when we are doing multiple campaigns to influence a customer, and it takes a huge effort to actually get any response from them or move them from one stage to the other. How would you see the measurement happening, and how much of fallacy is there?
See, measurement is always going to be a problem in marketing. Let's accept it, right? I think sometimes we tell ourselves that with all the technology and stuff that we have, right, we're being able to crack market and measurement. Uh, I don't think we have been able to solve measurement by 30%. The day we solve measurement, I think it will become a level playing ground for all marketers, and the best marketers will not have um, that undue advantage that their muscle memory or the skill sets bring, right? So, right now it's a good space to be in because, human beings are, as important. You're not going to rely on robots and AI to run your campaign. So that's the first thing. So if anyone is expecting measurement to be perfect and you'll be able to do right kind of decision making based on what data tells you, uh, we are not there. We'll not be there in the next 5 years for sure, right? Uh, the other thing about measurement is I think sometimes measurement can be tricky if you just do it unidimensionally, right? What I mean by that is if you only look at the cost per lead, cost per clicks, CTR, and put in a table and keep tracking it from that perspective, right? It is just one way of looking at data. I think the best measurement models is the framework of the data, right? How can you slice and dice the data as easily as possible so that you can look at different aspects of the data, right? So I'll just give you one example, a very easy example, but the life, of course, is way more complicated than that, right? Let's say you run, real world scenario, right? So there was a campaign I did long time back where we wanted, it was a hackathon that we were trying to promote. So we wanted people to come to a landing page, take a test, small, few questions, and then a small problem there. You solve it on the landing page, right? And we ran, mass campaigns through all channels, through email, through LinkedIn, through search, all of it, right? And we realized that good decent results. People were coming in. The awards, the incentives were very high, so people did take up the test. And then so the landing page was performing fine, right? But we saw the people who came down from a particular channel. I think, if I was not mistaken, it was LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken. I think, or Facebook. I think it was Facebook, correct? So people were coming from Facebook, right? Came in huge numbers, and it was also one of the cheaper channels, so it did give us a huge volume. But very few people converted, right? And we were targeting the right forums on Facebook, so it was not that we just went prayed and sprayed and got the wrong target audience. I think we're pretty laser focused on the target, the Facebook audience too, because we were targeting the right Python, SQL kind of communities, right? So then we kept looking at the numbers look bad, numbers look bad, Facebook is not working, Facebook is not working, right? And then we eventually, and at one point, someone thought that, okay, we'll shut down Facebook. Then we started looking at data from a different perspective. We actually opened Google Analytics and checked how many of these people, where the opening these platforms, and we realized that most people who download, clicked on Facebook, came to from the mobile site, right? Of course, nobody can take an exam from the mobile phone, right? So what was happening is they would drop out. They would either take the link, they would drop out, and probably come directly to the link later and fill it up, right? So it was still working, except that it appeared that it was not, right? So now, and that's also was happening because there's another aspect of it, because mobile ads was cheaper, right? Because people were converting more mobile phone at the first stage. So we all we needed to do is basically take mobile from off the serving list, right? And then the numbers got corrected. The point I'm trying to make here is that you know that is, of course, as I said, right, very one-off, right? It was easy to go deep into the data. But how are you measuring the data, right? Do you have dashboards like Tableau or anything else which can allow you to slice and dice, millions of data points to be able to make sense? Otherwise, if you're looking at this one dashboard which says, click rate, CTR, open rate, and MQL, cost per MQL, right, you will not get the true story. And any good marketing operations team, we should not be satisfied with that kind of a view. So more than the data, Nidhi, the point I'm trying to make is a data framework. How you measure your operations, how easy you make it for a non-technical marketer to be able to slice in data to find his story, right? Is the key here.
Yeah, interesting example there, Summer, and we have ourselves gone through this issue of not getting. We were like we ran our own campaigns on LinkedIn, and we found that maybe we're not getting enough traction, but we found that corresponding to that, the website visits were high. People may not be looking there, but they were looking us up on the other side. So few things, though, so directly I can't attribute, but there are the side effects or the surround sound effects do happen. My next question, and that is like the kind of challenges that we face in marketing are not static. They are moving as the marketing is moving. So today, in the post-pandemic world, because we have this now dates, right? Pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So especially for a B2B marketer and in SaaS environment, how have things changed? What are the challenges that you see as against the standard B2B market uh, compared to a SaaS environment? What are the different challenges and where can we actually gain some ground?
So I think the primary challenge in B2B, right, or the biggest enemy of B2B marketer is probably attribution. You talked about it, right? So Nidhi, I'm sure you know what survivor's bias is, right? So there's a survivor's bias happening in the marketing world too, right? So we can call it the attribution bias. So we optimize our campaigns based on what we can measure, right? And sometimes we can measure only 20% of our work, right? So just to give you an example, right? Well, let's go back to the example that we talked about, the store, right? Or let me give you a more sassy SaaS example. So let's say, our organic numbers are really high, our LinkedIn numbers are very low, and our email marketing numbers are somewhere in between, right? Organic search very high, LinkedIn very low, and email somewhere in between, right? End of the year, there's a very high probability you'll say, "Hey, shut down everything in LinkedIn. It's organic that is working," right? But very high probability is because people keep seeing your ads on LinkedIn, right? They would want to go and search for you when they want to buy, right? So it's not your search team's credit that your search volumes are going up. It is the job that the LinkedIn team has done, right? So if you look at data, right, as the attribution bias, right, you'll be able to attribute to Google, right? You'll not be able to attribute to LinkedIn, and then you will presume that okay, Google is doing well. But the moment you shut down the program, right, your Google numbers will come down, right? And then your Google team will start, researching on 3,000 other keywords and try to solve the problem elsewhere, right? So the analogy I keep telling, giving my team is, there's this famous joke where, you see a guard at late night trying to look for something under the lamp, right? There's the street lamp and a little bit of the road is, bright. So he's looking for something. Someone comes and asks him, "What are you looking?" He said, "I lost my watch." So he said, "Did you lose your watch here?" He said, "No, I'm not. I did not lose my watch there. I lost it out there, but it's dark there, so I'm looking here." Right? So this is also sometimes happens in marketing, right? Because this is the only data that we have. We try to find the solution there. I mean, it might be elsewhere. So now, of course, the golden question is how do you solve it, right? I think the best marketers, right, and this is my own hypothesis, ready to be challenged, uh, do not get bogged down by attribution alone. You cannot. The best marketers go by instinct too, right? And they have very strong convictions because they know the customer, they know, again, that lamp analogy, right? They know exactly where to look even in the dark, right? Because that's how they are tuned, right? And that's what I also said, right? If it's the entire road is bright, then the best marketers do not have any more leverage because, right? But this is what's just the difference between a good marketer and a great marketer is this, right? But people who can go beyond attribution and data and go by instinct.
As journalists are supposed to have a nose for news, the marketers are supposed to have instinct to know what's working and what might work. Is there a way to codify this instinct? Pass it on to someone?
Codify and pass it to a AI bot, you mean?
Not AI bot, maybe your juniors, your peers build a team. In a team,
No,
how do you pass
no. I mean, see,
build a
some
team?
parts of it, yes. Some parts of it, yes. Right. But if you really want to be a good marketer, right, you have to walk your way up in the sense, literally walk, right, track your way up. You need to be open to make mistakes, right? You need to have a very thick skin, right? You'll always have your CEO or questioning the things that you do because you cannot bring the right data point in front of him. It'll always be the case, right? You need to have thick skin from that perspective. Keep making mistakes, and experiment, right? Keep learning from your own mistakes, and one day you'll realize, okay, I'm not being able to better my end result, right, with all these different tune-ups and tune-downs that I've done, right? And then you realize, okay, this is probably where the ceiling lies, and I've basically hit the best possible outcome. But until then, you have to be keep hungry to make mistakes, right? And keep trying. If you don't have that in you, you're probably you probably are not going to do the best B2B marketer is what I think.
You are also building your team, as you as you grow up in your career yourself. So you have to build team, you have to build people who can deliver and people who can deliver fast, and you pass on your learnings to them. But in today's time, the era of great resignation, does the expectation of a thick skin really work?
It has to work, right? I mean, thick skin in the sense that thick skin doesn't mean that you are not taking feedback, right? Thick skin is being able to listen to everyone, including your instinct, right? That's what it means, right? You have to be able to absorb all data, all insights, right? Whether it comes from your CEO, your best friend, your industry colleague, you take, absorb all feedback, right? And then you should be able to, also data, right? I'm not saying data is not important. Data is absolutely important, but data is not the only thing that can drive you, because data can get you wrong, as I said, right? I mean, if you just look at unilateral data, right? You can use data to tell any story, and you probably know this more than anybody else does, right? So data is another aspect of it, but eventually you should be able to take your own decisions, right? And go, dare I say, by gut too, right? Because as I said, right, the best marketers that I have seen uh, do things which nobody else has done, right? And they do things that nobody else has done only because they were not relying on data to tell them what the as is, right? Because you can only go as far, if you just follow conventional rules, right? So, so again, if coming back to in this era of resignations, etc. I think whether a person stays in any one organization or moves to the other, the skill sets don't change, right? The brightest person will do well in this organization, my team, and someone else's team, right? Because of how quickly he can experiment, how quickly he can unlearn, how quickly he gets into the zone where he believes that, okay, what has brought me to this point will not take me to the next, right? I have, and marketing, especially right in digital world, the first question, right? Marketing in the digital world, right? It's all about change. Every single day, there's something new thrown at you, right? You have to evaluate it. Does this add value, to what I'm trying to achieve? Yes, no, right? If you and the best marketers will always pick up new things, leverage it, and before the crowd picks it up, and then move on to the next. This case in point, right? Podcasts, right? Podcasts are pretty big these days, right? But the guys who did best in podcasts are the guys who probably picked up podcasts in the last 2 3 years, right? Now a lot of other people will start. This is also not late, by the way, right? But anyone who picks up podcasts after 3 years, I don't think is going to make the most out of podcasts. Same thing with LinkedIn. The guys who did LinkedIn in 2015, mastered it in 2018, have an undue advantage than guys who are trying to do LinkedIn right now, is because already become very expensive, right? So yeah, unlearning is the key. Whether you in this team, whether in the other team, whether great resignation is there, not there, doesn't matter.
Great. So finally, Sommer, if you can share some tricks and tips on performance marketing for people who are listening to us, people who are starting out or people who are already trying few things, based on your learnings, based on the kind of work you have done so far, that would be great. So if you can share some best practices, some tips, tricks.
So data is important, right? But there are two other things that I've learned personally in the last 2 years, right? My part of my own unlearning process. One is your website is the key. Your website is your uh, especially in the SaaS side, right? Website is your best salesman. So you have to think through your website really well, right? It's one of the toughest things to build, right? But if you do it well, and if you can keep improving it, right, it's going to do wonders for you, right? The second, again, it can be slight, is my own learning, right? And I'm okay to be challenged here. Is I believe that your prospects are also slightly lazy, right? Don't expect all of them to come to you, right? Because the traditional belief is in the inbound side that you charm your, you do all kinds of branding, other exercises, you charm your audience to an extent that they'll, oh, awesome, right? This is the thing I really need. I'm going to go to the website and sign up right now, right? You should do all of it, but you'll always have a section of your charmed prospect who's lazy and who probably think that I'll probably do it today, tomorrow. It is a burning need for me, but there are five other things that is pulling me in, and I may not be able to do it right now. Right? That's why it is important to go to him if he can't come to you. Right? Today you have a lot of tools like Six Sense, Clearbit gives you intent data. Right? You should be also be able to get intent data from your own first party tools, etc. That's the marketing operations problem. But if you know that Nidhi is interested in your product, don't wait for her to be in your website. Right? That's the best case scenario, for her to be on a website and sign up. But try to reach out to her, right? Try to reach out to her on LinkedIn, try to reach out to her through emails, try to reach out to her even maybe over a phone, right? And just say, hey, Nidhi, you know, uh, we saw that you have been downloading content at our end. Is this a problem that you're looking to solve? I'm happy to help you and connect you with the best solution experts if you want me to, right? I don't think people will be, offended by that if they're, if they're facing the genuine problem, right? So again, coming back to your point, first make the sales website yours. Data is important, right? So nobody should believe that just because someone said that gut is important, data is not, right? Data is important. Two, your website needs to be done really well, right? It's a life, it's a living salesman for you or a salesperson for you. uh, Three, presume your prospects are lazy too. If you're expecting all your prospects to come to your website because you've done amazing branding and thought leadership, uh, you're in for a surprise, right? Uh, yeah, that's what I would think.
That's great. Those are great points, Somar, and I'm sure people who are listening to us would be able to relate to it and would take would put their own intuition to what we you have said so far, and would be able to come up with some interesting marketing campaigns of their own. Thanks a lot for speaking to us. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and we look forward to having more conversations in days coming forward.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Nidhi and Jimmy. So have a great week, right? It was lovely speaking and connecting with you guys again.